What is going on, guys? Welcome back. Commentary for you. And let me just say, MMA is a landscape of certainties until it's not. Because headed into tonight, most people would tell you Bellamir was certainly going to win. And there's rationale for that, there's reasons for that. Not only was this a handpicked opponent, a main event on the Contender Series, but also the investment that the UFC has made, the promotion. If you go back and rewatch this card, all you hear about is Bellamir. And of course, Bellamir is going to buy into that. Why wouldn't she? She's going to sit there and talk about being a champion. She's going to sit there and talk about transitioning into boxing. But what we learn is a couple things. Number one, if you've got a fighter that's 500, 600, 700, 800, 1,000 odds, keep them out of your parlays. They just don't add anything meaningful. But also, I think we're going to learn the term fraud check gets thrown around a lot because, listen, it's very easy to sit there and say, well, this was a fraud check. The reality is, if you look at Bellamir, obviously, she's a young fighter. She doesn't have a lot of fighting experience. She has a lot of wrestling experience. And when that wrestling didn't work, she tried to strike. And she's talked, we mentioned it in our breakdown. She's tried to improve her striking. She's made claims that she's improving her striking. You don't see it. And she has no plan B. This also, though, doesn't take away from what Apodaca did. Because this was a beautiful game plan. This was the blueprint of how to beat Bellamir. She fought at distance. She controlled range. The only thing that she really didn't do was in the third round continue to try to separate. But other than that, I know a lot of people will look and say, hey, Bellamir isn't as good as we thought she was. Look at what happens. I mean, at the same time, I don't know how far either one of those girls is going to go. But this is why it's really difficult to look at massive favorites. And during the actual contest, for Bisping to sit there and say that he somehow saw this happening, that, Bellamir hadn't been to deep water. I mean, to be fair, she hasn't been to deep water because she isn't able to fight at this level. She isn't able to have all these matches because she's so young. If anything, I would really put some of the blame on Frank Mir because her corner really had to understand, at minimum, going into the third, she was down one round. And at that point, you have to force the grappling. You have to force the grappling. I know people are going to say this is literally the fraud check of all fraud checks, that Frank Mir was garbage, and look what happened with Brock Lesnar, and you never get lucky twice. But at the end of the day, this is also why we all watch and love this sport. Because everyone can sit there and tell you what's going to happen. People in the middle of the broadcast can tell you, oh, I actually didn't think that was going to happen, and we can watch everything play out. But I will also offer to you, there was an element of fear as I sat there going into the third round and thought to myself, maybe this is 1-1. Maybe if Bella comes out and has, just a stalling wrestling approach, she gets this win and everybody leaves frustrated. Because if you look at all the metrics we're told matters, damage, cage control, aggression, there's no way Bellamir was going to win that fight. No way Bellamir was going to win that fight. I joked that the UFC right now is probably on the phone with the PFL right now, offering what must be hundreds of thousands of dollars in pre-made trailers, hype reels, practically movies made about Bellamir and her contract, as long as the PFL doesn't offer Usman Nurmagomedov another contract. It's funny how things like this work. Your most hype prospects come in and they fizzle out. And people get very irritated Meanwhile, you also can go back on this very same card. Look at somebody that fought Josh Hokett, almost identical to our breakdown, that says, hey, I might have lost to Josh Hokett, but look where Josh Hokett is now. I can go out and be just as good, get myself in better shape, get myself against high-level competition, and go do what I have to do to perform at this level. So you literally saw, someone fall from grace, while you also saw just an incredible redemption story in the same 2-hour show. You can't make that up. It's, again, why we love this sport, because everything happens so quickly. This isn't like the NFL. This isn't like Major League Baseball, where somebody takes years to pan out, or maybe years and they don't pan out. They fall flat on their face. Everything in MMA happens in a vacuum. Bellamir is going to be back. Bellamir is going to learn from this. The next time Bellamir fights, she's probably going to have a crazy line. But at the same time, you have to look at what happens and understand. It's why we all show up to watch. Nobody turned the TV off and said, oh, no sense in watching this because Bella's got it. We all sat there and watched. And we saw the game plan fall apart. We saw the frustration. We saw Bella get tested in a way she's never been tested before and realize she wasn't up to the task. Her striking did not look good. Her takedowns late were very sloppy. Easily turned back. I believe in the second round, Apodaca reversed a position on her. That's when I placed my live bet for Apodaca at like plus 1,400. Because I knew right then and there, if you get reversed out of position on the mat by someone that is really nowhere near your level of grappling or wrestling, you got real problems. You have real problems. In the UFC, again, we always wonder, why don't they do more to build up fighters? Why don't they do more to promote fighters? Why don't they, hitch the proverbial wagon to fighters? This is why. They can try to build stars all they want, but the reality is it's still up to that person going out and performing, and far too often you see these people not go out and perform. So this is a textbook study in why the UFC doesn't promote, I don't want to say the way they used to, but they're just so leery to put so much into someone, so much time into someone. Like I said, go back to the beginning of this card. I think I saw 4 different promos for Bellamir for her to just basically go lay down and lose. But there will definitely be interest in the next Bellamir fight, and there's tons of not only footage that she can take of how she lost, but also footage for other girls to use of how to beat her. Hey, love to know your guys' thoughts on this exciting card. Can't wait to break down the next ones. Be back as soon as we can with more commentary.